All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Township Tuesday if you haven't been here before. My name is Maddie Cash. I'm an attorney with the association. Today, we're going to be talking about, oh, hold on. I got a message in the chat. We have a supervisor who will be out of the area tonight for our meeting. Can we Zoom him or have him on the phone? We might not have a quorum, so no meeting. So if you want to have the rules for the open meeting law actually just changed around having your supervisors attend via Zoom or some kind of other telecommunication this year. They were kind of made more lenient. So you just have to say that some people may be attending via Zoom or via telecommunication on the notice, but that does have to be included on the notice. So it can't be last minute, really. But it could be an option to include that on all of your notices in the future. But I don't know if they could participate via Zoom this evening. That's probably not an option still. All right, so I'm not sure if we're going to start off here with a what do we do without a quorum? Okay, so this is in the chat still if you guys are wondering. So Town of Worry asks, what do we do if we don't have a quorum? If you don't have a quorum, then you can't make any decisions. So you might have to cancel or reschedule the meeting. There's not a lot of rules around canceling a meeting. You can cancel a meeting at any time. You might want to let people know, obviously, hey, this meeting has been canceled. And then post a notice for a special meeting if there's something you want to get done, but that does require 5 days posted notice. So you do have to give that 5 days time. But if you don't have a quorum, there's no decisions that you can make. You can't come to any conclusions. All right, so if that is all for that question, could we appoint a supervisor? No. You mean temporarily appoint if somebody, the only time that you would appoint a supervisor is if somebody resigns or there's a vacant position for some reason, right? Somebody passes away or retires or whatever it may be, then you would appoint a supervisor using an appointment committee, but you couldn't temporarily appoint a supervisor for the night, probably.
Hi, it's easier than typing. If we have a supervisor who has missed 2 meetings the last 2 months, and I don't know if he's coming to this meeting tonight, and then I have another supervisor who has already told me he can't make this meeting tonight. So I have one supervisor for sure that's going to be here, myself, who is the clerk, and maybe the missing supervisor that's been missing the last 2 months. Can we appoint somebody? If he doesn't come, he's no longer a supervisor. Is that right? Because he's missed 3 in a row?
Yeah, so the rule is 90 days, I believe. So once someone has not attended for 90 days, they've effectively relinquished their position. Now, I would have to double check on what the statute says on how you proceed after that. I think it's appointment, but I don't want to tell you it's an appointment and then there's some other rule thrown in there that you have to follow. So I believe so, but I wouldn't make any decisions before I look into it. So let me look and make sure that that's the procedure before you proceed with that.
But the appointment could be made by the one supervisor that is still there, and the clerk would get a vote then too, right?
Yeah, it would be the appointment committee. So the remaining supervisors and the clerk.
Okay. All right. You have any other questions, Mark?
No.
All right. Thank you, Maddie. I'll go mute again.
Yeah, no problem. And I'll email you, Pat, on I'll look into that after this and we can.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so we're going to get started with a little information, an update from Maddit, as well as an update from our trainers before I dive into my topic today, which is sharing township data responsibly. Sometimes I feel like I'm kind of beating a dead horse with this one because it comes up a lot, but it is really important because it also comes up at the legislature a lot because they want us to be subject to data practices every year during the legislative session. And every year that's kind of a battle that we're fighting. So I want to make sure that that doesn't happen and that townships share data responsibly so that we have that argument saying, hey, we're already sharing data. No need to subject us to that Data Practices Act because it's already happening and we don't have the funds to do it. So I will pass it over. Lisa, are you on? I can hear you talking in the room, but I think you're muted on the screen.
There you go. How is that?
There you are. Go for it.
Thank you. A little blurry too, so I don't know what's going on, but that's okay. I'm having a bad hair day, guys. It's all right. So hi everyone. But recognize a lot of the faces. Welcome. I'm just gonna go over a few things with Maddit and the fun word called claims. And just a reminder that the 2025 CLC policies have been issued. Invoices are due on August 15th, 2025. So if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call or email us at madditinsurance@mn.org. Just a quick overview of consolidated liability coverage, which protects townships from various legal and financial risks. And then, of course, workers' comp insurance ensures that employees injured on the job receive financial and medical support. One of the few tips I want to throw out there for you guys, please, to protect your town hall assets, make sure that each and every one of the town halls have fire extinguishers, smoke alarms, and do an inventory of your, just an inventory overview, okay? The stuff that should be covered, you know, make sure that you're giving us a call, ask questions, confirm. There's a policy review that we send out to each and every one of you. If you're not sure if that tractor is still on there, or if you need to insure a new tractor, mower that you sold, give us a call, please. And to avoid any insurance impacts, please make sure walkways and sidewalks are clear of debris, broken boards, and railings are intact. Okay, it is a Minnesota law that you guys are required to have handrails at town halls, and there's certain measurements, etc. I can send you the information if need be, but please, if you Google it, it's a requirement. We've had some questions and accidents because someone's walking down, there may be a box, or in the winter there's snow. Make sure it's shoveled, etc. All right. One of the big questions that come up here at Maddit, even though your supervisors play a big role in managing and operating, you know, the town, etc., the township, please note that their personal vehicles are not covered under the policy. They need to be registered, owned, or leased by the township for them to be covered. Okay, if they're going to a flooded road, looking at the signs or whatever it is, and there's a fender bender, that falls on the actual supervisor's coverage. Okay, again, it needs to be operated or owned or registered under the township. All right. And to report any claims, you can go online at the Minnesota Association of Townships and go under Maddit coverage. And then there's a drop down for claims, and you can report the CLC claim that way, and or work comp, and the policy number, and I'll list that in the conversation, is 16204. All right. So that is just a quick overview. So let's all be safe and make sure that, you know, the walkways, debris is removed, broken boards, railings, etc. Just keep it clean for all of our members, and be safe, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. You have a question in the chat too. Somebody said, can you send the information on requirement for handrails? Thank you.
Yes. I looked that up right before I got on the call, so here you go. It's coming your way.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah.
Okay, I am going to pass it along to Gussie while Lisa gets that information out. Gussie, are you on the call? I don't see you, but
I am here.
all right, great. Take it away.
Yep, I am here. I'm going to go through a few things today, and the big questions I've been getting are paid leave questions. We're on the countdown here. First deductions are going to be made in April of 2026, and we're going to start reporting. We're going to get online. Everybody's going to apply for paid leave. And in the chat, I'm going to put a couple of links to help you guys. I mean, there are a few things here that you're going to have to, let me go ahead and grab these real quick, because you're going to need these things. These are really, really helpful. I went to the latest paid leave seminar, and my suggestion is to go into the deed website and register for updates. They will let you know what the webinars are. Great information, good stuff. I have the contact center information there. Let me go ahead and throw this up on in the chat for y'all. And if I fall into the y'alls, what the y'alls are all about is I lived in the South for a long time. And every once in a while one will pop up. So if you hear that, now you're going to see in there, there's the place for the newsletter. The link for the newsletter is in there at the contact center. The contact center number, which is 651-556-7777. Okay. And also there are the previous paid leave webinars are there. You can go in there and find out what's been happening. Now, a couple other things I'm going to give you guys today too are we've got district meetings coming up, and Anita Anderson, who I see is on a call today. Hi, Anita, one of our great trainers, great with CTAS, great to have her on board. So some of the questions that we're going to be handing out, we have some documents to hand out for you guys. So it won't be just a district meeting with nothing there. There are going to be some things for you, and I'm going to do acronyms. People have been asking about acronyms, so I'm going to do those mysterious UEIs and MMBs and those sort of things. But a couple of questions. Anita's got a couple of great ones here. How do I balance the checkbook in CTAS? Okay, you're going to go to the accounting tab. Then you're going to go to cash, deposits in transit, and then you move over those that have cleared on the statement, on your bank statement, okay? Then you're going to go to outstanding checks, and you're going to move over those checks that are listed on the statement. Check by using the cash control statement at the bottom right, and it should match a bank statement. Another question, great one she has here. These are things that we get, and we're just passing them on to you. Should I have a special fund for disasters? Anita said yes. Set up a special fund in the 200s and use the program codes to identify the detail areas. And this will give a financial report that you can have to give to emergency management. Also, should I report all my investments to the state auditor? Yes, all the money and where it belongs should be reported. And he says, this accounts for all the money received and what's been done with it. Also, when entering claims and payroll and disbursements only, how does the reimbursement get recorded? Well, you enter the disbursement from the net claims report, which not only lists the net pay, but the reimbursement also. And those great tips come from Anita. She's answered these questions a dozen times, and then some of you are saying, yeah, I've heard these over and over, and I've had the question over and over. So here's the answer over and over, because there's always somebody new at the township level. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks for letting me share some of that, Maddie. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. All right, so I will dive in now. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. All right. So you should be able to see my screen now.
It looks good.
Thanks, Leslie. I also have my chat up, so if you have questions, please feel free to enter those in the chat or interrupt me if something goes awry. That's okay too. Otherwise, there's time for questions at the end as well here. So today I'm going to be talking about data responsibility. Here's my information on the screen. If you ever need to reach out to me, use that contact information. I'm here to answer questions, whether it's about data responsibility or not. Something else, I'm happy to help you work through it too. So my information is here. It's also at the end. I just want to make sure you guys have it so you reach out to me whenever you need to. I'm going to start talking today about MAT updates because we have, oh, why is it not letting me? There, okay. MAT updates. So coming up, so this year, the local bridge replacement program, the state aid provides some important updates about that funding will be appropriated for the 2025 session. And what the plan is for upcoming project solicitations. So it was open July 10th, I believe. And during that first session, the legislature appropriated $20 million in general obligation bonds for the competitive program. If you're not familiar with this, those funds can be used to replace or rehabilitate deficient local bridges owned by townships, and the funding can help cover costs related to engineering, construction, and necessary right-of-way acquisition. State aid is coordinating with townships to get this money handed out. Approximately 10 million of those funds will go towards covering the waitlist projects or to townships. So, but it is, we've found out recently, on a first come, first served basis. So if your township is interested in applying, now is the time to start preparing. If you have questions on how to start this process, or if it might apply to a project in your township, the contact information that you want to use is through state aid, and it's Geraldine Swenson. The number is 612-409-3158, or their email is geraldineswenson@statemn.us. If you need that information, I can send it to you too. Just send me an email and I'll let you know who to contact. Otherwise, if you want information on the local road improvement program, LRIP, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, that information will kind of be coming down the line later on, but that contact person is also through state aid, and that's Rashmi Brewer, and their phone number is 651-366-3830. And again, if you want that information, I can email it to you too. But I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that the local bridge replacement program funding is a first come, first served basis. So if that's something you're interested in, you'll want to make sure to get a move on those applications pretty quickly. District meetings are coming up in August. I know Gussie already mentioned those, but make sure that you know where and when your meeting is held within your district and attend that. It's August 5th through August 25th. The times and places obviously vary. They're on our website now. There will be elections held in districts 2, 4, 9, and 12. So if you are in those districts, make sure to pay attention to that too if you want to participate in that election. And all of that information is on our website. I just want to make sure you guys are aware of those meetings coming up so everybody can attend. All right, that's all I have for MAT updates. I'm going to move into data sharing. Okay, so why do we have to share our data? What is the requirement there? So Townships are closest to the people that they serve. Residents want transparency. They want transparency, especially around money and decisions and public infrastructure, things that are going on in the town that are going to use their tax dollars, right? And sharing that public data builds trust with your local residents. It reduces any suspicion that they might have. And overall, it just strengthens community engagement. It makes people believe in the work that you're doing as a township officer. And it's just good practice to share data. But on top of that, as long as townships make this data open to the public and operate in that transparent manner as a matter of custom and as a matter of good governance, we get to go to the legislature and tell them, hey, not all townships need to be subject to the Data Practices Act because we're already sharing data and we don't have the manpower or the funding to comply with data practices. So if we're already sharing the data that we can, as much as we can, we're already open and transparent. There's no need to subject us to this Data Practices Act. Make no mistake, this comes up quite frequently at the legislature. Every few years or every other year, every year, it comes up a lot where every once in a while a township didn't share data that someone was really interested in, and then that person complains to their representative, and then that representative says, hey, why aren't townships subject to data practices? And then we kind of have to go in there and advocate for that. So it's really important to share data when you can, as much as you can, and to know how to handle those data requests from your residents so that we can kind of keep advocating for you when that happens. Because Minnesota Data Practices Act was designed for large government units in mind. So those people have full-time staff. They have IT departments. They have legal departments. Most townships aren't subject to the act, and that's a good thing because it's complex and it requires creating data practices policies, prompting quick responses to data requests, understanding complex classifications of data, what is considered private, what is considered public, what is considered confidential, and how each of those buckets are treated in terms of data. It requires lots of attorneys and frequent training of your officers. So you don't want it. You don't want to have to deal with it. So make sure that you share data when you can. It also has obviously costly legal consequences if you don't comply with the Data Practices Act, or if you misunderstand the complex rules, there can be pretty serious consequences to that. So we have limited funds, we have limited staff, we have limited manpower, so it's important to have a clear expectation on what you do need to share, even though you're not subject to data practices. So what is public data? Public data is any data not private or confidential. Thanks, Maddie. Really helpful information. It includes things like meeting minutes, financial reports, resolutions, permits. That's all public data. Your board kind of, because we're not subject to that Data Practices Act, your board kind of determines what data is considered non-public and what access to that data should look like and how it's restricted. Unless, of course, there's another state law that requires that you share access or that someone has a specific right to it. So we do not have a conclusive list of what is considered non-public data, private data, but typically it's employment records, deductions in paycheck, but that doesn't mean that you should not share gross salary, but any deductions from that salary would be private information typically. Medical information, litigation or privileged information that you receive from your attorney, communications with your attorney, bank account numbers, social security numbers, or similar information that individuals might not want others to have public access to for safety reasons or those kinds of things. So that is the kind of data that you'd be sharing. So if it's not non-public data, so if it is public data, you should have a process to share that when someone makes a request for it. So in order to do that, you want to create a policy. Well, this helps you just treat every request the same. Everyone who comes in and says, hey, I want this information, you know how to handle it. And so does the clerk and board after you. They know how to handle it. So it's really consistent on how you share this data. So the key elements you want to include are scope, what data is or is not available, define what is confidential and who can access it and when, and then access, arrange whether it's a meeting with the clerk. If you want to request for data, you can arrange to meet at this time or call this number, get in contact with the clerk to arrange a time. Give that information and how they can do that, or request copies. Make sure you want to require a written request for those copies so you have a paper trail. We actually have a sample form, our form TM7000. Under Appendix B, there is a sample of what that looks like to request this kind of data. And so that's a good starting point. Obviously, each township is different. You can cater it to kind of meet your needs if need be, but that's a good starting point. It's in our town meetings section in our information library. That's TM 7000. If you can't find it, just email me. I'm happy to send it to you too. You can charge fees for copies of the data. So set a clear expectation of what those costs will be. Are there fees for labor, copying, mailing, supplies? Especially if the cost or the request is for a lot of information, it's going to cost the township quite a bit of money in printing and man hours. So you want to make sure it's clear what that is going to look like. And then will you require prepayment? Do these requesters have to pay before you even get started? So a good place to start, again, is at TM 7000, but make sure you have a written policy. It provides fairness and consistency and protects the township from any claims of arbitrary, unfair treatment for people making these requests. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Minnesota Government Data Practices Act. So who is subject to the Government Data Practices Act? I'm not going to dive too much into it because most of you aren't subject to the act. But if you are, you want to make sure that you gain more information about it, either by reaching out to me or we have a document on what that entails on our website too. So make sure that you just understand whether you are or not subject to the Data Practices Act. And this is where things get tricky a little bit because most rural townships are not required to follow the Government Data Practices Act. It's very few that are. And that's because we don't have regular office hours. We don't maintain a staff or facilities for public access. We don't have an IT team. We don't have a legal team, right? You're small and you operate on a limited budget. So we have kind of, the legislature understands that time and time again when we bring this up to them, like, hey, we don't have the manpower that cities or counties have to comply with this Data Practices Act because it is complicated and it requires a lot of work. So that being said, some towns are required to comply, and that is if they are located in the Twin Cities metro area, meaning Anoka, Carver, Dakota, Hennepin, Ramsey, Scott, or Washington County, and they are exercising urban powers under Minnesota Statutes 368.01. There are many powers in that statute, but some of them include engaging in economic development, full municipal utility powers, or maintaining sidewalks, maybe regulating waterways, regulating taxis. There's a lot that's included in there. I'm not going to run through it, but you have to meet both of those requirements in order to be subject to Data Practices Act. If you're unsure about it, maybe reach out to me or consult with your township attorney just to make sure that that is not something that you have to pay attention to. And again, most of you won't be subject to the Data Practices Act, but if you are, it's something that you need to be aware of. All right, so how do you provide people with reasonable access without getting overwhelmed or overloaded? So just because you don't comply with that Chapter 13, that's the Data Practices Act, it doesn't mean you should ignore reasonable requests. You should still let residents inspect records by appointment, be upfront about delays or costs, recycle any tape recordings unless they're officially made part of the record. So if you're a clerk and you record your meetings specifically for your own use in order to make sure those meeting minutes are accurate, then you want to make sure that that is clear somewhere and that you have a process for recycling those tape recordings and getting rid of them. Post commonly requested data like minutes. People always want to see the meeting minutes. So just make those available either at your meetings or online if you have a website, easily accessible. It's all about balancing transparency with your capacity to provide the information. So do what you can to make sure that common requests are readily available to people who want them. But if there is a more in-depth request, that you have a process for people to ask for that, and you have a process to require them to pay for that, because it can be very expensive and time consuming. At the end of the day, best practices for townships, you want to adopt a written policy. Make sure you have everything in writing. Again, TM 7000 is a great start. Train your officers, your clerks, and your board members on how to handle these requests. And I want to say, even if a requester is requesting information that you don't have access to, or it's going to take you some time to even respond to the request, maybe you've gotten a lot lately, the best thing to do is just, hey, we don't have that information. You're reaching out to the wrong entity. Here's who you want to contact, or just we don't have access to that information. It's not in our records. We're not the people who hold that. Or respond by saying, hey, we will get back to you. We're overloaded with requests right now. We're busy. So any kind of prompt response is good, even when you are kind of not able to give them a good, clear response. So make sure you train people on how to handle these requests, respond promptly. Make sure you let people know, hey, wrong location, wrong entity, or we're overloaded. It's going to take a while. Just clear communication is best. And then use a form that everyone uses to avoid confusion and keep a paper trail that's consistent. And set clear, modest fees, which are enough to cover your charges or your costs, but not so much that it discourages people from accessing that information, because that could be problematic too. The whole point of us being able to go to the legislature and say, hey, we provide data, is to make sure that we are being transparent and people can access that data. So setting the prices so high where nobody can even get access is kind of contradictory to that goal. And obviously, when in doubt, call us, call your attorney, make sure you ask questions. There are no stupid questions. The only stupid questions are the ones that go unasked. So make sure that you get that information when you need it. I don't see any questions in the chat, but if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them now. But that is all I have for my presentation today. It's kind of a shorter one, but I hope you guys have a great afternoon. And please reach out to me if anything comes up. Goodbye.